Looking for things to steal? Rat held up his arm, and my stomach went cold. In one grubby hand, he held an old, faded book, the cover falling off, the pages crumpled. I recognized it instantly. It was a made-up story, a fantasy, a tale of 4 kids who went through a magic wardrobe and found themselves in a strange new world. I read it more times than I could remember, and although I sneered at the thought of a magical land with friendly, talking animals, there were times when I wished in my most secret moments that I could find a hidden door that would take all of us out of this place. "What the hell is this?" Rat said, holding up the book. Having been caught red-handed, he quickly switched to that offensive. "Books. Why are you collecting garbage like that? If you even know how to read." He snorted and tossed the book to the floor. "Do you know what the vamps will do if they found out? Does Lucas know about your little trash collection?" "That's none of your business," I snapped, stepping further into the room. "This is my room, and I'll keep what I want. Now get lost before I tell Lucas to throw you out on your skinny white butt." Rat snickered. He hadn't been on the group long, a few months at most. He claimed he'd come from another sector and that his old gang had kicked him out, but he never said why. I suspected it was because he was a lying, thieving bastard. Lucas wouldn't even have considered letting him stay if we hadn't lost 2 members the previous winter. Patrick and Jeffrey, 2 unregistered brothers who were daring to the point of stupidity, who bragged the vampires could never catch them. They were too quick, they claimed. They knew all the best escape tunnels, and then one night they went out looking for food as usual and never came back. Kicking the book aside, Rat took a threatening step forward and straightened so that he loomed over me. "You got a big mouth, Allie," he snarled, his breath hot and foul. "Better watch out. Lucas can't be around to protect you all the time. Think about that." He leaned in, crowding me. "Now get out of my face before I slap you across the room. I hate for you to start crying in front of your boyfriend." He tried pushing me back. I dodged, stepped close, and slammed my fist into his nose as hard as I could. Rat shrieked, staggering backwards, hands flying to his face. Stick yelped from behind me, blinking through tears. Rat screamed a curse and swung at my head, clumsily and awkward. I ducked and shoved him into the wall, hearing the thump of his head against the plaster. "Get out of my room," I growled as Rat slid down the wall, dazed. Stick had fled to a corner and was hiding behind the table. "Get out and stay out, Rat. If I see you in here again, I swear you'll be eating through a straw for the rest of your life." Rat pushed himself upright, leaving a smear of red on the plaster. Wiping his nose, he spat a curse at me and stumbled out, kicking over a chair as he left. I slammed and locked the door behind him. "Bastard. Thieving, lying bastard. Ow." I looked down at my fist and frowned. My knuckle had been cut on Rat's tooth and was starting to swell with blood. Ew. Oh, great. I hope I don't catch something nasty. "He's gonna be mad," Stick said, venturing out from behind the table, pale and frightened. I snorted. "So what? Let him try something. I'll break his nose the other way." Grabbing a rag from the shelf, I pressed it to my knuckle. "I'm tired of listening to this crap. Think he can do anything he wants just because he's bigger? He's had it coming for a while." "He might take it out on me," Stick said, and I bristled at the accusing tone. As if I should know better, as if I didn't think of how it might affect him. "So kick him in the shin and tell him to back off," I said, tossing the rag onto the shelf, carefully picking up the abused book. Its cover had been ripped off, and the front page was torn, but it seemed otherwise intact. "Rat picks on you because you take it. If you fight back, he'll leave you alone." Stick didn't say anything, lapsing into sullen silence, and I bit down on my irritation. He won't fight back. He would do what he always did. Run to me and expect me to help him. I sighed and knelt beside the plastic box by the brick wall. Normally, it was hidden by an old sheet, but Rat had ripped that off and tossed it in the corner, probably looking for food or other things to steal. Sliding back the top, I studied the contents. It was half full of books. Some, like the paperback I held in my hand, some larger, with sturdier covers. Some were moldy, some half charred. I knew them all, from front to back, cover to cover. This was my most prized, most secret possession. If the vamps knew I had a stash like this, they'd shoot us all and razz this place to the ground. But to me, the risk was worth it. The vamps had outlawed books in the fringe, and had systematically gutted every school and library building once they'd taken over. And I knew why. Because within the pages of every book, there was information of another world, a world before this one, where humans didn't live in fear of vampires and walls and monsters in the night. A world where we were free. Carefully, I replaced the small paperback, and my gaze shifted to another, well-worn book. Its colors faded, a mold stain starting to eat one corner. It was larger than the others, a children's picture book, with brightly colored animals dancing across the front. I ran my finger over the cover and sighed. Mom. Stick had ventured close again, peering over my shoulder at the tote. Did Rat take anything? He asked softly. No, I muttered, shutting the lid, hiding my treasures from view. But you might want to check your room as well, and return anything you borrowed recently, just in case. I haven't borrowed anything for months, Stick said, sounding frightened and defensive at the thought, and I bit down a sharp reply. Not long ago, before Rat came to the group, I would often find Stick in his room, huddled against the wall with one of my books, completely absorbed in the story. I'd taught him to read myself. Long, painstaking hours of us sitting on my mattress, going over words and letters and sounds. It had taken a while for Stick to learn, but once he did, it became his favorite way to escape, to forget everything right outside his door. Then Patrick told him what vampires do to fringers who could read, and now he won't touch them. All that work, all that time, all for nothing. It pissed me off that Stick was too scared of the vamps to learn anything new. I'd offer to teach Lucas, but he was flat out not interested, and I wasn't going to bother with Rat. Stupid me, thinking I could pass on anything useful to this bunch. But there was more to my anger than Stick's fear or Lucas's ignorance. I wanted them to learn, to better themselves, because that was just one more thing the vamps had taken from us. They taught their pets and thralls to read, but the rest of the population they wanted to keep blind, stupid, and in the dark. They wanted us to be mindless, passive animals. If enough people knew what life was like before, how long would it be until they all rose up against the bloodsuckers and took everything back? It was a dream I didn't voice to anyone, not even myself. I couldn't force people to want to learn, but that didn't stop me from trying. Stick backed up as I stood, tossing the sheet over the box again. You think you found the other spot? Maybe you should check that one, too. I gave him a resigned look. Are you hungry? Is that what you're saying? Stick shrugged, looking hopeful. Aren't you? I rolled my eyes and walked to the mattress in the corner, dropping to my knees again. Pushing the mattress up revealed the loose boards underneath, and I pried them free, peering into the dark hole. Damn, I muttered, feeling around the tiny space. Not much left. A stale lump of bread, 2 peanuts, a potato. I was just beginning to sprout eyes. This was what Rat had been probably looking for, my private cache. We all had them, somewhere, hidden away from the rest of the world. Unregisters didn't steal from each other, at least we weren't supposed to. That was the unspoken rule. But at our hearts, we were all thieves, and starvation drove people to do desperate things. I hadn't survived this long by being naive, and the only one who knew about this hole was Stick, and I trusted him. He wouldn't risk everything he had by stealing from me. I gazed over the pathetic items and sighed. Not good, I muttered, shaking my head. And they're really cracking down out there. Lately, no one is trading ration tickets anymore for anything. My stomach felt hollow. Nothing new to me. As I replaced the floorboards and split the bread with Stick, I was almost always hungry in some form or another. But this had progressed to the serious stage. I hadn't eaten anything since last night. My scavenging that morning hadn't gone well. After several hours of searching my normal stakeouts, all I had to show for it was a cut palm and an empty stomach. Ridding old Thomas's rat trap hadn't worked. The rats were either getting smarter, or he was finally making a dent to the rodent population. I scaled the fire escape to Widow Tanner's rooftop garden, carefully eating under the razor wire fence, only to find the shrewd old woman had done her harvest early, leaving nothing but empty boxes and dirt behind. I searched the back alley, dumpsters, behind Hurley's trading shop. Sometimes, though rarely, there would be a loaf of bread so moldy not even a rat would touch it, or a sack of soybeans that had gone bad, or a rancid potato. I wasn't picky. My stomach had been trained to keep down most anything, no matter how disgusting. Bugs, rats, maggoty bread. I didn't care, as long as it faintly resembled food. I could eat what most people wouldn't stomach, but today it seemed Lady Luck hated me worse than usual, and continuing to hunt after the excursion was impossible. The pet's continued presence in the fringe made people nervous, and I didn't want to risk thievery with so many of the pet's guards wandering about. Besides, stealing food so soon after 3 people had been hanged for it was just asking for trouble. Scavenging in familiar territory was getting me nowhere. I'd used up all resources here, and the registered were getting wise to my methods. Even if I crossed into other sectors, most of the fringe had been picked clean long, long ago. In a city full of scavengers and opportunists, there just wasn't anything left. If we wanted to eat, I was going to have to venture further. I was going to have to leave the city. Glancing at the pale sky through the plastic-covered window, I grimaced. The morning was already gone, with afternoon fading rapidly. I'd have only a few hours to hunt for food once I was outside the wall. If I didn't make it back before sundown, other things would start hunting. Once the light dropped from the sky, it was their time. The masters, the vampires. I still have time, I thought, mentally calculating the hours in my head. It's a fairly clear day. I can slip under the wall, search the ruins, and be back before the sun goes down. Where are you going? Stick asked as I opened the door and strode back down the hall, keeping a weary eye out for a rat. Allie, wait, where are you going? Take me with you, I can help. No, Stick, I turned on him and shook my head. I'm not hitting the regular spots this time. There are too many guards, and the pet is still out there making everyone twitchy. I sighed and shielded my eyes from the sun grazing over the empty lot. I'm gonna have to try the ruins. He squeaked. You're leaving the city? I'll be back before sundown, don't worry. If they catch you, they won't. I leaned back and smirked at him. When have they ever caught me? They don't even know those tunnels exist. You sound like Patrick and Jeffrey. I blinked, stung. That's a bit harsh, don't you think? He shrugged and I crossed my arms. If that's how you feel, maybe I won't bother sharing anything I bring back. Maybe you should hunt for your own food for a change. Sorry, he said quickly, giving me an apologetic smile. Sorry, Allie. I just worry about you, that's all. I get scared that you'll leave me here alone. Promise me you'll come back? You know I will. Okay, then. He backed away down the hall, shadows closing in over his face. Good luck. Maybe it was just me, but his tone almost implied that he was hoping I'd run into trouble, that I would see how dangerous it really was out there, and that he's been right all along. But that was silly, I told myself, sprinting across the empty lot back towards the fence and the city streets. Stick needed me. I was his only friend. He wasn't so vindictive that he'd wish me harm just because he was pissed about Mark and Gracie, right? I pushed the thought from my mind as I squeezed through the chain-link fence and slipped into the quiet city. I could worry about Stick some other time. My priority was finding food to keep us both alive. The sun teetered directly above the skeletal buildings, bathing the streets in light. Just hang up there a little longer, I thought, glancing at the sky. Stay put, for a few more hours at least. Actually, feel free to stop moving if you want. Vindictively, it seemed to drop a little lower in the sky, taunting me as it slid behind a cloud. The shadows lengthened like grasping fingers sliding over the ground. I shivered and hurried into the streets. Goodbye.